On Saturday, November 16th, the Carl H. Lindner College of Business will host the Project Management Institute's annual summit for the organization's Southwest Ohio and Dayton, Miami Valley chapters. Navigating Tomorrow, Employing Virtual, AI, and Remote Project Management Approaches is the theme of this year's summit. My name is Grant Freaking, Manager of College Communications and Marketing at Lindner. Today, I'm joined by a pair of Lindner professors to gather additional insight on the summit. Both will also be among the event's esteemed speakers. Chanda Monroe-Willams is an adjunct instructor and Executive Director of Urban Impact and Project Learning at Lindner. Stephen Jones is an Assistant Professor of Operations, Business Analytics, and Information Systems and Director of the Operations and Industrial Management Programs at Lindner. Welcome, Chanda and Stephen.
Thank you, Grant.
Yeah, welcome, Grant, and welcome, Stephen.
Yeah, pleasure being here. Thanks for hosting us today.
Of course. Really excited for the two of you to join me today. Now, approximately 300 project management professionals are expected to attend the summit, which features keynote addresses and breakout presentations across a range of project management topics. Why else should project management professionals attend this summit?
Well, I think one of the other valuable opportunities for project management professionals is to continue to expand and grow their network. You know, one of the things we teach our students is that the quality of your career has a direct correlation with the quality of your network. And so as we bring together this many professionals from different industries, different parts of the region, it gives them an opportunity to collaborate together to form relationships. So as they are actively working in their profession, they have an expanded and a broader network that they can pull from and draw from. And in the project management industry, it can be nomadic. People may change from company to company or industry to industry, and having a broader network simply expedites that opportunity and the ability for people to maintain a strong and healthy career.
And I think, unlike most of the past summits, I think where we have an opportunity here is that everyone is trying to figure out how to navigate this new artificial intelligence space. And I think project management, some people have asked, even our students have asked, is it outdated? And we have to get to a point where we start to see how we leverage that tool, that domain in how we get work done, not just from an academic standpoint, but how we look at it from being able to do capacity models, how we resource remote workers, et cetera. So I think when we looked at the title, Navigating Tomorrow, Enjoying Virtual, AI, and Remote Project Management Approaches, we really sat down and said, how can we get in the game and make sure we're thinking futuristic?
Cool. Attendees can also fulfill 14 professional development units, better known as PDUs, at the summit. To those unfamiliar with the project management realm, what do PDUs signify, Chanda?
So we believe that it's important for all project managers to continue their learning cycles. So every 3 years, you have to go through a process of garnering additional learning, whether it be through practicing or training or giving back to the community. And so it's important for our people to be able to say that they're up on top of the most edge-cutting processes, how we look at project management, and really about how we assess how we get work done. A lot of people think that project management is that thing over there that you do to be able to get work done, but it's not. It's a methodology about how you think through things. How do you assess situations in your organization? How do you define them? How do you put a framework around them to be able to execute on solving true problems that are sustainable solutions that can be leveraged for continuous improvement?
And so, Stephen, staying current is definitely of the utmost importance.
Absolutely. I mean, within any industry, any professional, you want to continue your education so that way you're always aware of what the latest and greatest is out there in order to maintain your value that you bring to the industry in your role, your position, in your organization. So the PDUs are essential from that perspective.
Now, Stephen, in the UC News release announcing Lindner as the host of the summit, you said, quote, "This year's summit promises to be an enriching experience with facilitators who align with the PMI Talent Triangle and sessions inspired by PMI's Pulse of the Profession," end quote. Tell us more, especially to people like me who may not know much about the PMI Talent Triangle and the Pulse of the Profession.
Yeah, great. That's it's something I'm really excited about because it's one of the things that brought me into higher ed. I actually, prior to coming to UC, I spent about 30 years in corporate and global management roles. And one of the things I found for professionals across the board, it was critically essential to continually build your skills. So much as we just talked about PDUs or the continuing education, what the PMI talent triangle really breaks down are three critical elements that are useful, really essential for any project or operations or quality, any type of manager in business today. And those three aspects are business acumen, the ways of working, and power skills. And things that I learned throughout my career is, number one, you must understand business. The business acumen is essential because you have to understand the big picture of not just your operation, not just your organization, not just your industry, but the overall economy in order to make effective decisions that are going to add value to your organization. The business acumen components really get to anything where we get to look at competitive analysis. What are my competitors doing better or differently than my company, and what things can we do to have a competitive advantage?
Right.
We have to understand legal compliance, particularly if you get into projects in the finance space or manufacturing of food products, to ensure that we minimize the risk of liability to our organization. And then, of course, organizational strategy. How does our organization function? If it's domestic, if it's international, multinational, to ensure that we're making decisions that continue to create value and don't unintentionally create problems. The second leg of the triangle really gets into our ways of working, and that gets more specifically into the different types of project management and the skills necessary for a project manager to be successful in various environments. And that can come from the mastery and the use of traditional project management, waterfall, like if you're building a house, agile project management, where maybe you're looking at application development like you might have on your phone.
Okay.
DMAIC, which is a process improvement approach where you're trying to improve the current state or efficiency of a process, or a hybrid approach where you're combining different elements of any of these different project management methodologies. And that's really beneficial for project managers to grow their skill set so that they can demonstrate how they can use all these different techniques regardless of the scenario that they're thrust into. But the third leg, I think, can be the most important leg from many aspects, because ultimately we're always dealing with people. And the third leg are the power skills. And the power skills are really the skills necessary of a manager beyond just the technical skills, beyond the business acumen, that are going to enable them to get the most out of themselves and the people that they work with. So we're talking about things like emotional intelligence and strategic thinking and strategic leadership, but those interpersonal skills that, quite frankly, many we've seen an erosion of, especially going through COVID and as we've gone more virtual and more remote. How do we build those skills up so that we can build relationships that enable our professionals to be successful in any aspect of the business that they're working in?
And a lot of people don't understand that social emotional intelligence is a key part of project management. If you
Absolutely.
can't tap into the people in the room, it's hard to be collaborative enough to be able to figure out how to get them to share so that you can actually understand how to define the problem.
Well said.
One of the aspects we consider, especially with project managers, is project managers are unique in this fact that they typically don't have direct authority over the people on their project teams. So they have to lead through negotiation. They have to lead through motivation. And that really starts with the individual. How do you lead yourself? How do you motivate yourself to be able to go above and beyond? And then how do you motivate your team members for them to be able to go above and beyond? And you can have all the technical skills and all the business acumen in the world, but if you're not able to effectively motivate yourself and the people around you, you're really going to struggle in this profession.
Makes sense. Now let's dive deeper into the summit's keynote and breakout sessions. Chanda, what should attendees have their eyes on, aside from your session and Stephen's session, in terms of attending and picking out which sessions they should attend?
Well, we always say that we have some of the best sessions. I think last year we were voted in the top 3 of the sessions that were presented. So that kudos to Lindner for being a trailblazer in that space. But there was a gentleman, Michael Lively.
Yes.
He's a former NASA
Yes.
employee,
Yes.
and he's going to be the opening keynote speaker, Unleashing the Power of Generative AI Workforce this year. Last year, he had standing room only. He really broke down how AI can be used and how it's a matter of prompts and not code that makes us more effective in how we get work done.
Oh, interesting.
So we really believe that he should have been one of the keynote speakers this summit. And so he's going to be our morning keynote speaker. And then we have an afternoon keynote speaker, Ashima Sharma, who's going to do AR for Humans, Workforce of the Future. So again, it goes back to how we think about getting work done is going to have to change over time. Why? Because technology is outgrowing us and how we think. So I used to say, I walk into a room, if I'm the smartest person in the room, then I'm in the wrong room. Now the problem is I walk into a room and maybe 5 of us. By the time we walk out that room and add artificial intelligence to it, we're outdated. So we're outpaced. And so we now have to continue to go into a lot of rooms to be able to make sure we're keeping up and being able to use the tools to our advantage. I think the other thing that I am really proud about is we now are offering this year our lunchtime actually hands-on interactivity, where you'll be able to work with someone to actually create a comprehensive project plan, and they're going to show you how you can do it 80 times faster than you would have done it without artificial intelligence.
Wow.
So we're going to get people registered before the event, the morning of the event, and people will actually be able to bring their laptops and actually create their own project plans.
Excellent. Stephen, what kind of learning skill sets should people look forward to sort of adding to their repertoire by attending the summit?
Yeah, I think Chanda just touched on it, and that's really the big one. And how can I do what I do better and faster and more accurately? Because ultimately, there's one of the concepts or notions I've heard thrown out there about AI is that AI is going to take people's jobs away, and I totally disagree with that. But what I would say is that people who know how to use AI are going to become significantly more efficient and more valuable to their organizations. And that could, in fact, cause them to take on additional scope and responsibility from other people. And so within that is what Chanda just alluded to, being able to see practically how can I use AI to improve my own efficiency and my own value, I think is going to be a really critical thing to learn and a great value for all those who come to and choose to attend.
An important distinction. Now, Chanda, tell us more about your session entitled Future Proofing Project Management, Leveraging Virtual Teams, AI Teams, and Tools.
That's a mouthful, Grant.
It is.
But what I'll say is that we have to think differently. A lot of times when I go into organizations, they'll say, tell me how you think, how you figure out how to ask what questions to be able to move projects forward. And I think the first thing is understanding that we have global resources. So at a time where you have companies like Starbucks, for instance, who just was in the news about they had brought on a new CEO who worked in California. They were bringing their resources back into the office, and the question was why? What is the benefit of that? I think if we're going to get the best out of our talent, we have to figure out how to more strategically work remote. And so that's benefiting the company if people are happy, morale is high, and they can actually say, here's the tools we can use to make sure that the work is being done. There's a lot of tools out here like Smartsheets, Monday, Jira that we can use that a lot of people are afraid of. And I think now having artificial intelligence behind it is making it easy for us to better understand it. I think the other thing is harnessing the power of AI for project success. So a lot of us, we go in and say, okay, we're going to take this project plan and we're going to create it in Project Server. And it becomes so technical that our business users don't understand it.
Exactly.
We have to simplify that message. And AI will allow us to say, okay, take this project plan and simplify it so I can present it to a group of non-project managers who need to understand the executive summary level. And so to help us be able to tell that story, optimizing remote tools, adapting emerging trends, and building resilient processes. Steve and I are both process experts. I would say he's probably more of a process expert. I'm more of a project expert. And so with that being said, one of the things that we tell people is what we do is we create the vision and the framework around what we're trying to do, the business case, but then we got to figure out how to define what success looks like. And as we move through that process, we have to be able to say, what does that look like? Who's involved in it? How do we know that we actually achieved our goals? And so that's one of the things that we're going to talk about through this process is that how do you make sure you're building resilient, sustainable processes so that as you continue to improve them, because they're not static,
right,
as you continue to improve them, you understand how you got there. So there's a lot more documentation, a lot more rationale, a lot more tech specs behind it. And I think for a lot of project managers and organizations, that will make us more proactive in how we decide to move forward.
Excellent. A must attend session for sure. Now, Stephen, your presentation is titled CI plus AI, the new formula leveraging AI to continuous improvement. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so continuous improvement is a core activity in any organization, and it goes hand in hand with what project management is, because a project by definition is a short-term activity that creates value. Continuous improvement is basically a long-term activity that creates value. And so in this session, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to a corporate role I had about 6 years ago, where I was the head of performance improvement for a large multinational corporation. And I'm going to show how I would have used AI in that environment to go from anywhere of developing my strategic improvement plan for the organization to breaking down the tactical projects and using and building the project charters, and actually going through a full improvement project: define, measure, analyze, improve, and control, using AI in a way that I have a high level of accuracy in my data. And I'm going to demonstrate that because historically in the past, that kind of an activity literally was something, that planning activity alone would have taken me weeks to do. And I'm going to show how you can do it using AI in a matter of minutes.
Wow.
So I think it's a real beneficial application for people who are actually owning and managing project portfolios and having to oversee a large set of projects within an organization.
Looking forward to seeing that. And wow, that's some efficiency saving right there.
Yes.
Now, before we close, I'd like each of you to share what the project management industry means to you. Stephen, we'll start with you.
So for me, project management, the industry for me was a treasure that I found that I didn't know existed, because it really enabled me to have a very successful career over 35 years and across 40 different countries. And I'm really excited now because we're able to bring that to our students. We've recently launched, matter of fact, we just got approval yesterday for our project management club, and we're in the process of applying to become a student chapter of the Project Management Institute. And so I'm really excited to have a much more formalized, structured support system to help our students learn project management and even earn their own project management certifications while they're students here at Lindner. At Lindner, we strive to help our students become as valuable as possible, not just academically in the classroom, but also externally through our co-op experience and now through our student organizations and with professional certification. So I'm just really excited about the whole growth of the industry and how we're able to present this and provide this value to our students.
Excellent. Chanda, some final thoughts from you?
Yes. So I like how we are able to come full cycle. So as an alum of the University of Cincinnati, my major was in psychology.
Oh, interesting.
And so I left UC and went to GE and quickly became known as a problem solver. And I realized how useful that degree was in the business realm. And so in 1995, I was able to start GE's first project management office. I did a lot of research on what it was. We didn't have a lot of information on it, and we were able to craft how we were able to do things like decide what sites we're going to keep up, how to do champion challengers globally for our different business units, how we were able to look at the value of some of the projects that we were doing and how to prioritize them. And so having a career that has spanned over 25 years doing that type of work, and then to be able to come back to UC again and be able to translate that into something that is more tangible for our students so they can understand that even though Lindner says we enable problem solvers, it's actually a bigger message than that. What we're enabling is the ability for students to think outside of their natural realm. There's no limitations in how we solve problems. It's really just more of how do you engage with people to be able to figure out how to make sure that you're aligned on what you're trying to do at the end of the day. And so I think Stephen and Sachin, I don't want to miss out on Sachin Modi, who is a department head for OBIS. He's done a terrific job in looking at where we have opportunities to be able to get our students engaged. We actually had 25% of the 200 students that were involved in the summit last year who are doing some amazing work. I'll let Steve talk more about that. But I think that it has been a win for us as a college to really not just say we enable problem solvers, but to be able to have people be able to see what that looks like.
Proof of concept. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had over 50 students attend the summit last year. Hopefully we'll have more than that this year. And that's what initiated the students, their excitement over it caused them to initiate setting up the project management club. And again, I'm really excited about it because it's not a major specific club, but for any student here in the College of Business. And it's, again, another way that Lindner is able to help build the value for our students and make them more attractive to business. And again, I just shout out my department head, Sasha Modi, just for his support in this, because I don't think we would have been able to come this far without his support.
And it has opened up conversations across the university. That's the biggest thing. I think in our research, we've been able to find that a lot of colleges have some component of project management, but we have not had a structured conversation on what is the University of Cincinnati's model. So Lindner is now having that conversation in a way that's saying, look, we all need to get on the same page and make sure that when we talk about project management and business acumen, we got to figure out how do we do it in a way that really puts University of Cincinnati and the College of Business on the map when it comes to project management and solving problems.
My thanks to Chanda Monroe-Willams and Stephen Jones for joining Bearcats Mean Business. Remember, the 2024 PMI Summit will be held Saturday, November 16th at Lindner Hall. To register, visit pmiswohio.org or click on the link in this episode's description. Please subscribe, rate, and review Bearcats Mean Business or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in. Go Bearcats.